And the question remains, will the president find bipartisan cooperation on Capitol Hill? Joining me now, Senators Joe Lieberman, Kent Conrad, and from Texas, Kay Bailey Hutchison. All three have recently declared they will not be seeking re-election. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Let me ask you, Senator Lieberman, what will you be listening to from the president at the State of the Union? What does he need to say?
Well, the president listened to the results of the election in November, and that's the right thing to do in America. Elections have consequences. And since then, he has really reconnected to the vital center of American politics, and I think to the American people. And the way he reconnected was through the remarkable accomplishments of the lame duck session and then an extraordinary unifying speech in Tucson. I think he's got to keep that going. And so I think the mood of the State of the Union has to be both unifying and confident, optimistic, that we can do things if we work together. I think the main focus really has to be on how do you keep growing jobs and at the same time deal with the biggest long-term threat to America's strength and our economy, and that is the debt. And I hope the president will really be hands-on and say he's ready to take political risks if we are to get America's books back in balance for the sake of our children and grandchildren.
Senator Hutchison, do you think the president can convey that message of unity and confidence to move forward?
I think he can convey the message, but I think the question, Christiane, is will there be a follow-through? Will he really get his regulatory commissions to cut back on the regulations that are hurting the growth of business? Will he agree to some changes in the Obamacare, which is keeping people from hiring? I can tell you, I'm all over my state. That's what I hear. They're not going to hire people if they are looking at these big fines and big expenses in the health care bill. So I think if he really is going to follow through with a message that I'm sure will be good, with action that shows that he really means it, that's when we will have a true way forward.
Senator Conrad, what does he need to say?
Well, I think three things that are at the top of my list, and I think on the tops of the list of many Americans. Number one, growing the economy and jobs. Number two, as Senator Lieberman referenced, the debt threat. That's got to be taken on. And number three, I believe, reducing our dependence on foreign energy, because I think all three of these are deeply related, and I hope that he will come out and be specific about what his plans are in each of these areas.
We talked a lot about bipartisanship, and clearly that is the will of the American people. Everywhere you look, everywhere I go in the country, people say that they want their leaders to work together. You three senators have records of working across party lines, and yet you're retiring. Let me ask you why you're doing that. First of all, Senator Lieberman, why are you retiring? Is it because it's too tough a battle to win re-election again?
No, it's really because for me it's time for a change. At the end of this term, I will have served 24 years in the U.S. Senate, 40 years in elective office. I've run 15 campaigns in Connecticut. I want to try something different. I want to begin a new chapter of my life. I've loved service in the Senate. I feel good about what I've been able to accomplish working across party lines, but I must say I'm excited about a new chapter and new opportunities. I'll always want to be involved in public service, in whole or in part, working on the causes to which I've devoted a lot of my public life, including particularly national security.
If you think you could have won, why not, now the battle has been joined for issues that you care deeply about, like the economy, why not stay and fight this battle for the next? You
can always find a reason to continue, you know, but I think you've got to know when it's time to move on. I was not worried. I believed I would have won re-election. Obviously, it would have been a tough campaign, but, you know, as I said, so what else is new? I've run, almost all my campaigns have been tough. That's not the reason why I didn't run. I didn't run because I want to try something different.
Let me ask you, before we were talking about a sense of contentment that you all three felt. So let's get beyond that, and I want to ask you, Senator Conrad, you know, in your state, Democrats in Congress are becoming an endangered species. They may, in fact, become extinct in the next round of elections. What is it about the Democratic message that seems not to be selling or not to be being bought in the heartland?
You know, very interesting. What I hear all across my state are three words: enough is enough. When you put together TARP, of course, which was done under the Bush administration, but it sort of all runs into the same reaction by people, and you add stimulus and the auto bailout and the health care bill, it just struck people that there was too much coming from the federal government. And so people wanted to make a change.
Mm-hmm. Let me turn to you, Senator Hutchison. First of all, in a new report today in the New York Times, they say that in fact TARP will cost maybe $28 billion to the taxpayer instead of the $700 billion. They say that bailing out the auto industry will cost maybe in the end about $15 billion rather than the many tens of billions were put in. What about you? You yourself have been facing, even though you're a reliable conservative, Tea Party competition in Texas. Are they outflanking you?
You know, I think the Tea Party has done a good thing in awakening America to the problems that we are facing and saying we can do something about it. And I appreciate that. I think that if I had run, I would have won. It would have been a tough race for sure, but I think I would have won because I think my record is good and it is to be effective and get things done. But I do think there is such a strong feeling that America has not been going in the right direction. And I think people are looking for a change. That's not why I didn't run. It was a personal decision for me. I commute every week. I have 2 young children, and the time was right for me. I'm excited about a new future, and I'm excited about turning it over to someone else. But I think that the Tea Party, all in all, has done a good thing for America.
And yet they say that, as I said, you're a reliable conservative by all indicators. They said that you personally signify everything that the Tea Party is fighting. What on earth do they mean by that, particularly when it comes to issues such as spending cuts and the things that everybody's talking about right now?
Well, I think that's a misrepresentation of my record. I am a reliable conservative. There are some people who say that, of course. I mean, I read the blogs and it gets kind of depressing, frankly, to read those blogs. But all in all, I have support of Tea Party people. I do have the support of many of the leaders of the Tea Party, and I don't think there is a Tea Party spokesman that speaks for everyone, but I have a good relationship with the Tea Party. And yes, there are people who think that maybe I fought too hard for Texas in spending areas, but I think I'm elected to support my state, and I have supported every spending cut, every overall spending cut, and I think we're going to have to be doing a lot more of that in the next few weeks because we all agree, and I didn't support the stimulus, so I think that was a way too much spending, but we all agree now it must be cut.
Let me ask you again about this idea of centrists or moderates, or at least people who can work across party lines. There was a collective wail of sadness when all of you 3 decided that you wouldn't seek re-election. Is that idea of working across party lines also endangered and possibly extinct, particularly with you leaving? How many more will be left?
Well, I hope it's not extinct. In fact, I think part of the reason why the president is doing better is that he reached out across party lines in the lame duck session, and the Republicans reached back to him, and as a result, we passed a very strong tax cut. We repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We did the START treaties. So, look, I think part of the reason why the American people have lost some of our characteristic confidence in recent years is not just the terrible recession, but the fact that when they turned to their government in Washington, what they saw is people having partisan mud fights, not thinking about what they could do for them, the American people. And I think when we begin to act in that way, working across party lines, coming to the center to get things done, then it not only gets things done, but it increases the characteristic American optimism and confidence. To raise the GDP, I've been saying we got to raise the GDC, the gross domestic confidence. And I think we've done that. The president has led the way, and Republicans have partnered with him. I hope we can keep it going.
Let me ask a little bit about these spending cuts. The Republicans have talked about $100 billion in the first fiscal year alone. Some of the Tea Party's candidates have been saying just this past week that they want even deeper cuts, much, much bigger cuts, putting them at odds, it seems, with their own leadership. How is that going to resolve itself, Senator Conrad, do you think?
You know, I was part of the President's Fiscal Commission that made a proposal really a very sweeping proposal to reduce the debt by $4 trillion over the next 10 years, and much more than that over an extended period of time. I think that's what's required, a balanced plan that does, yes, have spending cuts. We had $1.5 trillion of spending cuts in the Fiscal Commission's plan, but you're going to also have to deal with the entitlements, Social Security and Medicare, and the American people right now.
And the military?
The American people reject all of those. The American people say, don't touch Social Security, don't touch Medicare, don't cut defense. That's 84% of the federal budget. If you can't touch 84% of the federal budget, and by the way, they also don't want to touch revenue, you're down to 16% of the budget at a time we're borrowing 40 cents of every dollar we spend. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there needs to be leadership to help the American people understand how serious this problem is, and that it's going to take a lot more than cutting foreign aid and taxing the rich. Mm-hmm. You're not going to solve the problem that way.
And one last issue I want to talk about, the tone, civility, a huge amount of speculation and attention on the seating plan for the State of the Union. Apparently some senators and congressmen already choosing their seating mates. So all of you, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, who are you going to be sitting next to? Who's your date?
I do not know. I haven't been there. I don't have a date. I'm just going to find a place to sit down.
Senator Conrad says he is available. And you?
You know, when I was in high school, I always waited too long before the prom to ask for a date, so I haven't done that yet. But
you got 2 days.
I'm going to be on the
Tell us
phone
now.
today. Incidentally, in our committee, the Homeland Security Committee, Susan Collins and I have been having our members sit without regard to party. In other words, we're not two warring camps facing each other. And this is symbolic, but it sends a good message. We really got to do more of this.
Have you picked a date?
I just asked Kay.
I know. All right. Well, we'll see you two sitting together, and you with Senator Collins. All right.
I hope so.